Let's ride.
Accusing them of, quote, staggering fraud in their real estate dealings. The state is seeking $250 million and looking to effectively put the Trumps out of business in New York. Here's CBS's Robert Costa.
Claiming you have money that you do not have does not amount to the art of the deal. It's the art of the steal.
The sweeping lawsuit unveiled today by New York State Attorney General accuses the former president and his children of lying for more than a decade about his wealth and his company.
Donald Trump falsely inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself and to cheat the city.
Correct!
We have breaking news right now, Ambassador. The New York Attorney General Letitia James has just announced a lawsuit against the former president, Donald Trump. Let's watch.
Eric Trump, from serving as an officer or director in any corporation or similar entity registered and or licensed in New York. To bar Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization from entering into any New York State commercial real estate acquisition or from applying for loans from any financial institution in New York for 5 years. To pay for the financial benefits obtained as a result of the persistent fraudulent practices at an estimated $250 million. And towards the end of my remarks, I will go into the other relief that we are seeking. At the center of the year-long financial scheme were the statements of financial condition that were prepared.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
This statement would be relied upon by banks and insurers. Mr. Trump and Mr. Weisselberg would meet to review and approve the final statement every year. Mr. Trump made known through Alan Weisselberg that he wanted his net worth reflected on the statements to increase, a desire Mr. Weisselberg and others carried out year after year in their fraudulent preparation of the statements. And when asked about these meetings under oath as part of our deposition, both men, Mr. Trump and Mr. Weisselberg, invoked their Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination, and they refused to answer. When asked under oath if he, Mr. Trump, continued to review and approve the statements after becoming President of the United States in 2017, Mr. Trump, again, invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege and refused to answer. Over the course of our investigation, we found that Mr. Trump, his children, the Trump Organization, created and used more than 200 false and misleading asset valuations on his statement of financial condition over that 10-year period. They issued statements that were in clear violation of general accepted principles in the general accounting principles in the United States, despite representing that these statements were prepared in accordance with these principles. Some of the common tactics they used include representing that Mr. Trump had cash on hand that he did not have, ignoring critical restrictions that would significantly impact property values when setting valuations, changing the methodology used to value properties from year to year without reason or notice, and using vastly different methods to value different properties.
Eventually.
These are the kinds of practices that are routinely engaged in the real estate industry. I think she was wise to make her allegations as concrete as possible and grounded in representations that were made that could be shown to be objectively false. So, for example, the square footage that Andrea talked about, for example, of the former president's apartment that was grossly inflated in some of the statements. And that's an objective fact. What's the square footage of the apartment? So things like that, or whether or not statements were prepared with the input of outside professionals. That can be verified, whether in fact outside professionals gave their sanction to the statements. And according to the allegations in the complaint, some of those outside professionals were interviewed by the Attorney General, and they did not provide input of the kind that's described in the statements or sanction them in any way. So that's what I mean, that it's smart as a litigation strategy to stick to facts that can be verified and proven to be false.
And Jessica Roth, based on the allegations
15 minutes later.
A computer, and especially an email address. So these type of communications are always between other people and the person that he's intending the result. When it came to the, again, appraisals, this was all set up, again, between Alan Weisselberg and whether it was Cushman or anybody else. And that's one of the reasons why Alan Weisselberg was brought into this conversation today with Tish James.
If these allegations are true, how did he get away with it for so long?
It's a great question. The system protects the rich. Donald Trump has always set himself out as someone who's willing to fight to the death, especially if it has to do with a legal issue. And you saw he did the same with Schneiderman, with Trump University, and so on. He will fight you to the death. And a lot of the prosecutors, Southern District of New York, when they dropped the 12 sealed indictments, Alvin Bragg by not going forward early on. That's why I say Tish James is exactly the type of prosecutor, the type of attorney general that New York, and actually all states, need desperately.
Well, it's been 3.5 years since you testified before Congress and told them that this was happening, and now today, this filing from the New York AG. Michael Cohen, thank you.
This is how legends are born.